All right, so tonight was TNA Lockdown, this month's pay-per-view from TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. And I will be completely honest, I had absolutely no expectations for this at all. TNA has been such a mess lately. Just watch Impact, and like I said on one of my last podcasts, they shouldn't even be proud of their product right now. So I didn't have any expectations for Lockdown. However, I was pleasantly surprised. Lockdown kicked off with the Wrestle 1 TNA six-man tag match. We had a couple dudes from Wrestle 1. Very, very impressive match. Nothing to be completely proud of. Nothing to freak out over completely. But the cool thing was we had the Great Muta in the match. The Great Muta, Sanada, and Nakanawi, I'm not sure how to say that last name, versus Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, and Chris Sabin. It was a good show starter. Nothing to be too impressed by, but anytime you got Muta in a match, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, he did everything. He did all of his patented moves. Had the Asian mist, green, purple, hit that a couple times. Muta looked a little rough, but the dude's been wrestling for like 30, 40 years. My biggest question is, why the hell would they give the X Division title to someone in another promotion in Wrestle 1? I don't get that. That's not good booking at all. But it was a good start to Lockdown. The Wrestle 1 dudes ended up winning, which again makes TNA look bad if another promotion is able to come in and beat you on your own turf, but whatever. Moving on, after that, Rockstar Spud came out to introduce Dixie. If you ask me, Rockstar Spud is the dumbest gimmick ever. I mean, especially tonight in his blue plaid suit with his bow tie, he looks like a circus act. And he looks like a circus act. It's just so hard to take seriously. Dixie came out, and she bashed Florida, she bashed Miami, she bashed the appearance of the fans, and said that after Jeff Hardy walked out and quit, he breached his contract, and he would not be allowed in the building. Interesting, because he was supposed to be in the 4-man Lockdown match later in the evening in the main event, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Next, we had Samuel Shaw versus Mr. Anderson. This is where the pay-per-view started to get good and pick up. Of course, they went to the vignette of Shaw stalking Christy Hemme last couple weeks. Very similar to the DDP stalking Undertaker's wife storyline 10 years ago. Anyway, Shaw came out, threatened to kill himself by jumping off the top of the cage if Christy Hemme didn't come out. And Mr. Anderson came out, he interrupted him, made fun of him, called him an idiot and a creepy bastard, and basically said that he was stupid because if he tried to jump off the cage, he would just break a leg or break an ankle. It was probably going to be better for him to come down and have the match and let Anderson just kick the shit out of him. It was a decent match. It wasn't horrible. It was actually one of the better TNA matches lately. Isn't saying much, but still, with Mr. Anderson's WWE history, you know it's going to be physical, and you know he's going to put on a decent match. When the WWE guys come over to TNA, or the WCW guys come back to TNA or ECW, they've been in the bigger promotions. They've been in the prime time in the big leagues, and they know how to wrestle a match. Most of them do. They know how to work a match. Shaw ended up winning the match, but Anderson should have won. He basically Shaw tried to escape, and Anderson threw him into the door as the ref, Earl Hebner, was opening the door, which knocked out Hebner. Of course, the ref has to go down. Mr. Anderson hit 2 mic checks on Shaw and climbed over the top of the cage. Usually he would have won, but the ref wasn't conscious to see it. As Anderson comes down, hits the floor, Shaw grabs Christy Hemme and pulls her through the camera hole of the cage. Anderson got the key to the cage from the KO'd ref, saved Hemme, and Christy Hemme runs to the back as Samuel Shaw chokes out Anderson. Shaw leaves the cage. The ref finally saw that and declared him the winner. Next up, we had Ethan Carter III versus a mystery opponent. Obviously, EC3 has taken Kurt Angle out, hurt his knee, setting up the opportunity for Kurt Angle to have much-needed knee surgery. He's needed that for a while. He's in bad shape. EC3 came out and talked about how he'd taken Angle out more than once, how no one could beat him. He said that it was always his dream to face the best. And Kurt Angle is the best in wrestling, seeing as how he's won a gold medal. He's the only guy to successfully transition over to professional wrestling. He wants to fight and offered open challenge to anyone in the back on the active roster. And out comes Bobby Lashley. Carter repeatedly tells him to leave the ring because he's not on the roster. And he knows this because he's at Carter and he's office. As EC3 goes to attack Lashley, Lashley ducks, picks him up, and just nails a massive running power slam. Then, as Ethan Carter gets up, Lashley speared the holy hell out of him. Pretty fun to watch, actually. Up to this point, Lockdown's been great, actually. Not great, it's been good. Next up, we had Tigre Uno defeated Manic in another cage match. On Lockdown, the reason they call it Lockdown, every match is inside the steel cage. Kind of a cool concept, if you ask me. It's been successful for 9-10 years now. This was the match of the night up to this point. Any X Division Cruiserweight Lucha match is going to be fun to watch. Then when you put them into cage, you're just asking for something awesome. Now, I've been a big critic of TNA lately, much like anyone else, but they booked a hell of a match here. You had everything. You had high flying from the cage, all of it. The match ended when Tigre Uno hit the Sabertooth splash to win the match. That's basically a huge corkscrew splash from the top rope. Great match. I was impressed. Manic's always fun to watch. This was Tigre Uno's first win, I believe. It may have been his TNA debut. Don't quote me on that. Next up, we had Gunner versus James Storm. I mean, outstanding. Physical, violent, a lot of weapons. Mick Foley would have been proud of this match if he were still in TNA. Storm nailed Gunner in the head with a chair as Gunner was coming off the top rope. Looked painful. Gunner nailed Storm in the head with the top of the steel steps. Storm threw Gunner into a chair, wedged between two ropes, just launched him into that. The way the match ended, Gunner won with a top rope superplex through two steel chairs that were set up in the corner. I mean, that's cool. This should be up for match of the year. And honestly, the way WWE's been, it was better than a lot of those matches have been lately too. My hat's off to TNA up to this point. Madison Rayne defeated Gail Kim via a flying spear from the top rope. For a women's match or knockouts match, this is a decent match. It was pretty impressive. Both of them put their bodies on the line. Gail Kim hit a flying reverse hangman from the top rope against the cage. I mean, you wouldn't expect, a women's match to go that all out, but they did, and it was fun to watch. I won't lie. I'm a big critic of women's matches. They're not exciting. They're boring. They're usually fillers. This one was good. And honestly, it was better than that first match was. Magnus defeated Samoa Joe to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Good match, back and forth. One thing I loved, there was blood. You won't get that in WWE. There was blood in this match. It was awesome. Finally, some blood. As Samoa Joe's got Magnus in a chokehold. This was a Joe's Rules match. You couldn't pin. You can only win by knockout, submission, or tap out. And as Joe has Magnus in a chokehold, a hand pops up through the floor of the ring, similar to Kane and The Undertaker used to do. Drug Joe through the ring down underneath. As Joe came back up, looked pissed off, infuriated, of course, as whoever it was cost him the championship. Joe's got Magnus in the corner, and from behind comes Abyss. Unmasked is Joseph Park, but Abyss too. Confusing, I know. And he's got a spiked bat. He nails Samoa Joe in the stomach with a spiked bat and hit the black hole slam. Magnus put the unconscious Samoa Joe in a chokehold for the 3 count. I mean, Joe had the match won. He completely got fucked over. Very similar to Kane selling out and screwing over Daniel Bryan. Next up was the final match, the Lethal Lockdown match, which is interesting. It's like a Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, hardcore Hell in a Cell match all in one. Interesting. Team MVP versus Team Dixie. Team MVP comprised of... Team MVP was MVP, The Wolves, Eddie Edwards, and Davey Richards from Ring of Honor, and Jeff Hardy. Team Dixie, Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, and the Bromans, which I still think is the dumbest tag team gimmick concept ever. Dumber than the Mean Street Posse. Come on. I mean, come on. Really? Come on. Creative? Come on. Of course, the big question is, how's Jeff Hardy going to be in the match if Team Dixie has the building barred and blocked off, and Hardy would be arrested if he set foot in the building? We'll get to that. MVP and Aries started off the match. Every 2 minutes, a new participant comes in. Aries and MVP started after 2 minutes. One of the Bromans comes in after 2 minutes. Eddie Edwards comes in after 2 minutes. The other Broman comes in after 2 minutes. Davey Richards comes in after 2 minutes. Bobby Roode comes in, and after 2 minutes, Willow, the debut of Willow, Jeff Hardy's old Omega gimmick, which I think is kind of cool. I wasn't sure what to think at first when I saw the footage, the promo and all that, the vignette. I was impressed. It's kind of cool. And only Jeff Hardy could pull this off. Willow's music hits, lights go out, lights come up. Where's Willow? Willow is on the top of the cage, and in true Jeff Hardy fashion, jumps off the top of the cage into the ring, takes everybody out. The other stipulation of the Lethal Lockdown is after all participants are in, the roof of the cage lowers with weapons hanging from it. Very similar to the 3-tiered cage concept from WCW without the other 2 tiers. That one, if you remember, if you were alive back then, or if you watched, if you remember, that cage had weapons. So did this. Good match overall. As the match is starting, Dixie brings out her insurance policy, which is Bully Ray, or Bubba Ray from WWE, ECW. He's been in TNA for a while as Bully Ray, one of the better competitors. He comes in, and the match is going. Everyone's beating the holy shit out of each other. Everyone's beating the holy hell out of each other. As Bobby Roode is about to powerbomb or body slam one of the opponents through a table, Bully Ray gets in his face and won't let him do it. And this leads to MVP getting the win, and MVP's team winning partial control of the company. Great match. Honestly, very good match. It's good and it's fresh, breath of fresh air to see something hardcore and some Extreme Rules matches back in wrestling. WWE is so PG lately that you don't get blood, you don't get a lot of weapons, and if you do, it's not interesting because they're afraid to use them. Very rarely in WWE do you get an extreme hardcore match that has blood, weapons, and is fun to watch. Very rarely in WWE do you get a women's match that's fun to watch. TNA, hopefully this is a step in the right direction and a sign of things to come. Because if this is the direction TNA is going, it could start to get fun to watch them again. Usually they do stuff like this, and it's good for about 4 or 5 months or for a small period of time, then it drops off again. TNA Creative, if for some reason you are listening, for the love of God, please keep this momentum going. You had a great pay-per-view with Lockdown. Fans were all over. They loved it. Great pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens Thursday on Impact. Obviously there's going to be a lot of fallout, a lot of backlash, storyline-wise and creative-wise. Should be fun to watch. So if you guys watched Lockdown, sound off in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you disagree, if you agree. We'll see you after Raw.